Well, this news just in a short while ago, the Transnet strike has finally come to an end. Satawu has called off the strike and is urging members now to return to work. United National Transport Union, or UNTU, signed a 3-year-long agreement with their employer. Satawu, however, did not sign the agreement and they're still engaging with Transnet. So it's still quite complicated. On the story for us, eNCA reporter Nqobile Madlala following the developments. Hello to Nqobile. So let's find out if we can. First of all, we know that the agreement signed by UNTU. Let's start with Satawu in this case. Why have they not signed? Afternoon.
Well, Gareth, essentially, Satawu has said that what they had asked for was an increase that was above inflation, which was over 10%, which was the minimum that they were willing to go. You'll remember they started from 15%, they went down to 13%, and they said the minimum will be 10%. Now, on that agreement that was signed by UNTU, it's 6%, which is what they call below the inflation. And this is not what Satawu was hoping for. You'll remember that a lot of the people that we had spoken to on the ground had spoken about the fact that cost of living is very high, and at this point they do need that the employer need the employer to also consider such. So that's one part of the agreement that already Satawu had decided that they're not going to sign on the basis that this is not in agreement with what they had spoken about. But also what we are finding out from Satawu is that they're saying that the agreement that was already signed in by UNTU, they're saying that it doesn't exempt at this point retrenchment. They're saying there could potentially be retrenchment that could come after this, and they're worried about this, and this is why they're saying that despite having to sign today, they are going to continue to speak to the employer and sort of raise their concerns, especially when it comes to retrenchment, especially when it comes to that above inflation in terms of increase as well. But they're saying that they're not yet just giving up, even though they are throwing the towel at this point, but they're saying it's not completely, it's not all gone. People need to go back to work, but they will engage with their employer behind scenes to sort of highlight these concerns. But for now, it does mean that there will be a lot of activities and a lot of people would be reporting to work from tomorrow. And I can even show you, Gareth, where we're standing, that if you see behind me, there's a lot more activity than before. When we were here, we saw there was no movement, there was no people, there was no cargoes, there's nothing, it was quiet. But now we are seeing a lot more activities. We've seen trucks as well driving in. We've seen quite a number of also goods train just passing through here. So we are going to be seeing now more of the people working on the ground as Satawu also decides that tomorrow their workers will be reporting to work.
And I'm not too sure. I'm just waiting for my team to tell me if we have one of the sound bites from Satawu. If we do, we're going to go to that right now. Nqobile, stay with me. We just want to hear what Satawu had to say. Let's take a listen in.
Here to inform our members that we call off the strike. We request them to report for duty tomorrow and give us Chief National Office bearers a chance to pursue the engagement with the employer on the issues that we are not happy about. As we have made it clear to them, Satawu did not sign the agreement, but we are still engaging with the employer, and we hope that our engagement with the employer will bear positive results.
All right, Nqobile, let's now talk about the other union involved in this as well, UNTU. They have agreed to the terms for the next couple of years as well. While we talk about UNTU as well, have you gotten any reaction from Transnet on the return to work for at least half of the workforce?
Well, we are still trying to get Transnet to respond to that, Gareth. But what we do know there is that UNTU has already signed, and you'll know that they already closed off their strike on the 8th day, which was Friday, which means their workers were already reporting to duty, as opposed to Satawu not reporting to duty on Monday. But we do know that they agree with obviously what has been put on the table, but there seems to be a bit of push and pull between the two unions. In the beginning, they were very united. started, Gareth, you could see they were asking for the same thing, but now you can see the cracks already when Satawu speaks about the fact that they've agreed to what they have not agreed on when they were together. In fact, some of the workers that were in the protest were talking about the fact that it's time to unify the two unions. They were saying that even if they go back to work, there needs to be a point where their leaders can have conversations and they can speak in one voice, because the separation now is very clear. And some of them were even asking that, is Satawu folding, meaning that they now can come back and be part of UNTU then, because it seems that they're agreeing with what UNTU has decided on. But it seems like at this point there is a clause that Transnet has which says that if the unions, one union has signed, the other one goes on an unprotected strike. So that's what they were worried about, that the strike, if it does continue, it becomes unprotected because they're no longer unified.
Just a last question to you as well, just very briefly, Nqobile as well. Clearing of the backlog now. We know how devastating this Transnet strike has been for the economy. I know you're standing near the docks at the moment. Some work continuing and getting underway today. Any word at all as to how long the backlog is going to take to clear?
Well, Gareth, when we previously spoke to Transnet about the backlog, they did say that they did have contingency plans for such. So they did say that in the beginning that they were not worried so much because quite a number of things were still continuing, especially in the water. There was still a lot that was happening. The major issue was inland. And now you'll remember that we were talking to truck drivers earlier on as well, and they were explaining about the fact that they are not able to get the goods, and they were even highlighting that they feel like Transnet has not considered the impact this will have on their businesses. So with UNTU already going in, it meant that already there's a little less work that needs to be looked at, and with Satawu coming in tomorrow, that means now there's even less. But we are of course going to find out from Transnet as well in terms of how far is it going. But as far as when we were speaking, they said that it was just one terminal that was affected, and so with the workers going back, that terminal will then be ongoing, will then go back to work essentially.